A reading from the Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom shines bright and never grows dim. Those who love her and look for her can easily find her. She is quick to make herself known to anyone who desires her. Get up early in the morning to find her, and you will have no problem. You will find her sitting at your door. To fasten your attention on wisdom is to gain perfect understanding. If you look for her, you will soon find peace of mind, because she will be looking for those who are worthy of her, and she will find you wherever you are. She is kind and will be with you in your every thought.
The spirit likes to dress up. The spirit likes to dress up like this: 10 fingers, 10 toes, shoulders, and all the rest at night in the black branches, in the morning in the blue branches of the world. It could float, of course, but would rather plumb rough matter, airy and shapeless thing. It needs the metaphor of the body, lime and appetite, the oceanic fluids. It needs the body's world, instinct and imagination, and the dark hug of time, sweetness and tangibility, to be understood, to be more than pure light that burns where no one is. So it enters us in the morning, shines from brute comfort like a stitch of lightning, and at night lights up the deep and wondrous drownings of the body like a star.
From Matthew. At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went to wait for the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The 5 foolish bridesmaids took their lamps, but they did not take more oil for the lamps to burn. The wise bridesmaids took their lamps and more oil in jars. Because the bridegroom was late, they became sleepy and went to sleep. At midnight, someone cried out, "The bridegroom's coming. Come and meet him." Then all the bridesmaids woke up and they got their lamps ready. But the foolish ones said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." The wise bridesmaids answered, "No, the oil we have might not be enough for all of us. Go to the people who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." So, while the 5 foolish bridesmaids went to buy oil, the bridegroom came. The bridesmaids who were ready went in with the bridegroom to the wedding feast. Then the door was closed and locked. Later, the others came back and said, Sir, open the door to let us in." But the bridegroom answered, "I tell you the truth, I don't want to know you." Whew. So always be ready, because you don't know the day or the hour when the Son of Man will come. Let us pray. Merciful God, our lives are hunched over as we watch our shoes take one step then another. We are drawn ever forward by the suction of decisions we made long ago but have never revisited. Place yourself between us, beloved, between us and the motion of our lives, so that we are forced to straighten up and to look around and to see, really see, and step on fresh grass, making a distinct impression upon the world all around us. In short, gracious God, make us students of your wisdom, so that we can stop ourselves and redirect our lives, and so refrain from hitting a wall of immense proportions. Amen. Good morning. Welcome to Trinity Place in Geneva, New York. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a wee reflection on Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verses 12 through 16, and a very gentle rejection of Matthew 25, 1 through 13. So wisdom, it says, if you look for her, you will find peace of mind, because she will be looking for those who are worthy of her. And She will find you wherever you are. And besides all that, it says she's quick to be known. So who is this wisdom? Who is this female divine or divine spirit who wants to be known by anyone who desires her? Who is this holy presence that will find us wherever we are? Darned if I know. But she sure makes the notion of the Trinity a lot more appealing than that Father-Son thing that comes down from on high from somewhere. But before I go on too much about wisdom, allow me first to deal very briefly with that odd story from Matthew about the 10 virgins or maidens, however it gets translated. And to do that, I want to steal a little bit from the biblical commentary by Robert Funk and Roy Hoover, who, among others, believe the story of the 10 maidens in Matthew is all about Matthew's agenda, not Jesus. They actually come right out and say that they don't believe that Jesus ever told this story, or at least not in its present form or context or with its present meaning. And the reason they do not think so is because of what's missing from this story. And they give us a list. Missing is a punchline that doesn't cut against the grain of the religion of their society. Missing is an assertion of a common sense idea, as in, the story also asserts, rather, a very common sense idea, like the Boy Scout motto, be prepared, rather than something that shocks or reverses our usual beliefs, which is more like what Jesus does. 3, it lacks humor or exaggeration or paradox and is instead a very straightforward, even schoolmarmish kind of text. And finally, unlike Jesus' most authentic parables and teachings, this one is not unique in any real way. But maybe most significant of all for Robert Funk and Roy Hoover and others who don't think this is an authentic Jesus story, the parable, as it has been delivered by Matthew anyway, asserts social boundaries instead of attacking or tearing them down, and that's very un-Jesus. But this 10 maiden parable, as written, does in fact fit Matthew's agenda like a comfortable old shoe. We hear in it the echo of the Matthean proclamations like separating the sheep from the goats and those who deserve the deserving wedding guests versus all those who should be thrown out into the outer darkness. So if we think about that criteria for why it is not an actual Jesus parable, it should also give us pause, because that list of criteria for Jesus' sayings is not even really very controversial, or shouldn't be. If we think about what is on that list in relationship to orthodoxy or popular Christianity, it's really stinging. Rather than cutting against religious and social grain, modern Christianity reinforces the Sunday school image, as well as a kind of intellectual complacency regarding secular assumptions about how things operate in the real world. Likewise, instead of being surprised or shocked by unexpected twists or turns in worship or preaching, we have practiced the art of rote ritual in some churches and nationalistic religious capitalism in others. Where Jesus used humor, exaggeration, and paradox, we have been terribly serious, frightfully literal, and overly rational, not to say also a bit too earnest. While Jesus' stories are imaginative, layered, and refrain from moralizing, we read them instead word for word as if they are prescriptions that cannot be varied or changed, even to account for changing times and circumstances. We use Jesus' wisdom to paddle and spank rather than to delight and enlighten. Our theology, rather than being concrete like Jesus' teachings, has been academic and theoretical, all about counting angels on the head of a pin, or defining a God that is really very far beyond description. Finally, instead of being a focus on destroying the boundaries of race and class, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, and age, our churches have been one of the guardians of those boundaries, and even more. How many times have you heard about or witnessed yourself, if you happen to be a churchgoer, someone stomp out of church angry because of something that was said or done, often probably from the pulpits, but perhaps in the worship? Well, duh, as they say. We should expect to be agitated by church. We should expect it. We should walk in expecting to get mad about something. If we're open to the wisdom that's coming at us from Jesus and the Bible, then we should feel prodded and shocked and angered and pushed and tickled every time we hear it spoken. Jesus wasn't cutesy or sweet or boring as far as we can tell. While the historical remoteness of the Bible may cause the wisdom that we read in it to seem exotic, subtle, irrelevant, or even incoherent, wisdom is all about surprise and paradox and shocking twists and turns. Spiritual wisdom is not about upholding the status quo of any culture, even though the practitioners of religion and religious institutions often get co-opted to be that way. Ours has been that practice of the practice of domesticating God's wisdom and God's love. But God's servants, like Jesus, are wildly undomesticated and all about poking at us through the finery and the politeness in our domesticated religion and social order. While we come to religion, especially in difficult times like these, looking for nurture and comfort and peace and serenity and calm, soothing delight, we are greeted by Jesus, who challenges and turns things upside down, questions, pushes, and prods, and just plain unsettles us. Even the Eucharist, which many of us were taught to think of as a warm embrace, like a mother bringing her infant to a naked breast, we are instead cautioned to come not for solace only, but for strength. Not for comfort only, but for renewal. And renewal is always tough. So, what the heck makes this good news? Why would anybody in his or her right mind willingly subject themselves to being challenged and prodded when they could be coddled elsewhere? I think the answer to that is wisdom. For wisdom, when we have encountered her, makes us feel as though it will all be worth it. Because the plain truth is, once we have met her, wisdom is impossible to forget. Once we have met and encountered wisdom, we will never forget her. There is a knowing that cannot be left behind or forgotten, and no substitute for it is even close. It's a knowing that resides somewhere deep inside of us, if indeed we have allowed ourselves to deepen, if we have allowed the roots of the holy to grow steadily down into our hearts and even into our mind. Wisdom is a knowing that no amount of time or abuse or deceit or humiliation from other people will allow us ever to forget or deny. It is a knowing that lies underneath our every effort to cover it over and to pretend it isn't there and ignore because it may be a knowing that is painful. The knowing I'm talking about does not have a universal content, but it does have a universal presence. We can try, but wisdom has its way of looking at us through the other side of a memory, like a face looking back from underneath water. Once we have known her, she will always find us. If you think I'm sounding a little mystical, it's because I am. Wisdom is mystical, and she offers us ordinary spiritual schmoes, a taste of the mystical that the spiritual big boys and girls feast on. For us, wisdom is a knowing in our hearts. For some of us, it's a knowing in our heads that cannot be dislodged even by pain or hatred or deprivation. I'm talking about a truth that we have stumbled upon sometime in our lives. It could have been as a small child or as we aged, even in old age. It may be about it may be a knowing or a knowing truth about our essential self-worth, or it may be an understanding about how the world works. It could be some strange and unique knowing about God or about the presence of God, or it might be an ability to see through people and through facades. Maybe it's even an ability to know what will happen next, or the gift of knowing how others are feeling. It might simply be knowing that we are loved deeply and totally. But trust me, there are so many different ways of knowing and of knowing this knowing. But I suspect that as I've been talking, you have filtered through your thoughts and put your finger on the knowing or knowings of wisdom that has been given to you. Whatever that wisdom is. Once this truth of yours has been grasped, no one and nothing can take it away. We may wander far from it and even pile pillows over to shut it up, but it will be there. Once it's been given, it'll be there. That's the nature of wisdom. I'm talking about the voice of God as it whispers to us across time and space on the lips and the pens and the keyboards of human beings. It's not magical or superhuman. It is concrete and ordinary element in the physics of God's relationship with the cosmos. Now that might sound strange to you, the physics of God's relationship with the cosmos. It may be that your faith and theology needs to be more concrete and ordinary too, so that it can be talked about in the realm of physics. So, go back to your knowing. Locate it, wherever it is. Touch it, hold it. Allow it to speak to you from the inside, from in that room of your ordinary life. That's where she lives and where you will know her. Well, thank you for being part of this today. I hope it will, in some small way, contribute to your growth, or your healing, and your wellness. Peace be with you. Thanks.